This should be easy because this is kind of a review. What are these? Monosaccharides and disaccharides. Monosaccharides, they can be pentoses like ribose or deoxyribose, right? They can be hexoses like glucose, fructose, and galactose. Now remembering, glucose looks like this. Fructose looks like this, but it's different because fructose has 6 carbons, where these are actually only have 5 carbons. This triose has how many carbons? 3. We connect them with glycosidic bonds. So this is the summary. This is everything you need to study. Make an index card for each one of these and you're set.
Okay.
All right. Here are some examples of disaccharides: sucrose, maltose, lactose, cellulose, right? This is what we get when we break down cellulose. Cellulose is what you see, what you're sitting on. Lactose is made of what? Now, do you need to know that for the exam? No, I do not need you to know which monomer produces which disaccharide. That to me is not important for this course. Are we clear?
Yeah.
If you want to go ahead and know that because you just want to know that, that's fine. But what's important for me, for you to understand, and what you will be asked to answer on the test, is what is a disaccharide? 2 monosaccharides connected together by a glycosidic bond. How are glycosidic bonds made? Using what? You tell me. That's right, dehydration synthesis or condensation reactions, however you want to say it. So you can see that they're different. They're fundamentally different. So you can understand why someone could drink a beer or eat a candy and not get sick, but they might drink milk and get sick. Now, why is that? Why is it when I connect 2 glucoses, 2 beta glucoses together? 2 beta glucose. So it's 2 glucoses that look like this, right? I'm doing a bad sketch, but if these are 2 beta glucoses, we call this lactose. It's a disaccharide. This is what's in milk. All mammals, all the milk there in mammals, including your mom's breast milk when you were a baby, the cow, the goat, all mammals produce this sugar to feed their babies. This lactose, you have it's difficult to break it down. It will not break down. It's a disaccharide. They're bonded, covalently bonded together. You have to break it down. How do you do that? You'd use something called an enzyme. So we need, in order to get this to do condensation, hydrolysis, in order to break this down, you need something that's called either a lot of energy or an enzyme. Let's talk about why. That's right, I hear that. So this is energy, or this is time, right? And this is change in energy. So if we start with lactose over here, and what we want is 2 glucoses over here, all right? So over here, this is a chemical reaction, right? We want to take lactose and we want to make glucose. How are we going to do that? We're going to use what process? That's right. Somebody has it. Hydrolysis. Is that who gave it to you? I wish you'd listen to the tapes and hear me say it about 1,000,000 times.
I'm sorry.
I get jealous. I'm sorry. Hydrolysis. So you got hydrolysis going on, and in order to get 1 disaccharide to form 2 monosaccharides, you need to break this glycosidic bond that they're strongly held together. So you need a lot of energy. Do you see how much energy you need?
Yeah.
You need to input a lot. This is how much energy you have to put in order to get the chemical reaction to go. This is analogous to a spark. Let me give you another example of a chemical reaction to make you understand this. Hopefully it'll help you understand it. If you have over here, you have paper. And over here you have ash, right? Carbon, leftover carbon, plus carbon dioxide, plus water, all right? It takes a certain amount of energy to make that reaction go, all right? Once you get that energy, it goes fast, doesn't it? What do we call this? Taking paper, making it into ash. Burning. We call it burning. Right? Burning. Or another word for it is combustion. Now, that's a simple chemical reaction. We've all done it. Where does this extra energy come from? You got paper, you have oxygen. By the way, paper plus oxygen. You need oxygen as well. You have paper, you have oxygen, O2 gas. What do you need to have a fire? I got paper, I have oxygen. Will this light on fire by itself?
No.
What do I need to do?
Set it on fire.
How? Using what? I need this amount of energy.
Oh,
That energy can come as a spark. A simple spark could light this on fire, yes?
yeah.
It could come from a magnifying glass. I could take a magnifying glass and focus the light, and that'll create enough heat it'll create enough energy to set the paper on fire. I can use electricity. With enough of a conductor, I can produce enough resistance to get enough heat to make it go. Whatever the form, I need something called activation energy. The energy necessary to get the chemical reaction to go. The energy necessary to get the chemical reaction to go. Once it goes, it's going to happen on its own. Another word for that is a spark. You need a spark. If you have a ton of gasoline, it's not going anywhere without what?
A spark.
A spark. Is it time to go? Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
All right, get out of here. I hear. You need three things to start a fire. You need fuel, right? Something to burn. You need oxygen gas. If you get rid of the oxygen, it doesn't burn. That's how fire extinguishers work, by the way. You get rid of the oxygen. And finally, you need some kind of spark. You need that activation energy. This activation energy is the spark. All right? That's all you need. And once you get that going, once you get a fire going, it goes. It goes quick, doesn't it? So it doesn't take that much time for the reaction to go. Well, it's the same with lactose. Lactose, again, it wouldn't be two glucoses. It would be a glucose, and it wouldn't be two of those. And galactose, that's right.
Oh.
It'd be one glucose and one galactose. So how do we get that to happen is we use something called an enzyme. There are these things that we call catalysts, and you have a catalyst in your muffler, in your what's called a catalytic converter. And a catalytic converter takes and makes sure that your gasoline gets burned to carbon dioxide. You have complete burning. It reduces the pollution. The catalytic converter has a very precious metal in it, and that precious metal is the reason why people will tear off your catalytic converter in the parking lot if they could. But it turns out that you can take with a catalyst, in the case of a catalytic converter metal, you can do this to the activation energy. What did I just do?
We can't see.
Is it not zoomed in enough? Let me undo this. I'll zoom in for you in just a second. Let me undo this. So there's this. Let me minimize this over here. Maximize this. Move this up. Oopsie. Sorry. Let's take a look at this. Pay attention. Look at what I'm doing. What did I just do? I lowered the energy requirement. What is that going to do? Pay attention. What is that going to do?
It's easier to catch on fire.
It's easier to catch on fire in the case of combustion. In the case of lactose, it's easier for us to do what? Digest. That's how that enzyme helps. This is an enzyme. In your body, it's an enzyme. So we can use catalysts. What catalysts do, and the word is catalyst. Catalysts lower the activation energy. They make a reaction go faster. Reactions go faster with a catalyst. Why? Because you're lowering the activation energy. It doesn't take as much energy for it to start. Your biological catalysts are known as enzymes. Enzymes are generally proteins, sometimes RNA, that make reactions go faster by lowering the activation energy. Does that make sense? Hold on, I'm not done yet. So one of these enzymes, you're not writing this down, it's going to be on tomorrow's quiz. One of these enzymes is known as lactase. If it ends with ASE, it's an enzyme. Lactase is the enzyme in your body that helps you break down lactose into glucose and galactose. If you can't break it down, bacteria will break it down. They can eat it. They're happy to eat it, but they produce gas that gives you belly gas, right? Helps break down lactose into glucose and galactose. That's why you get all the symptoms of lactose intolerance. You're intolerant because you don't have the enzyme. You don't have the enzyme because you're not a baby anymore. Milk was only produced for babies. And your enzyme lactase is only produced when you're a baby. Very few adults can eat lactose, drink milk, whole milk, and have no problems with it. Now, some people can drink it more easier than others, but this is really only meant to be produced in babies. Yeah. Huh? The test is on, the quiz tomorrow is on lipids. Lipids.
So you were like, this is on the test, this is carbohydrates.
Oh, I'm throwing that on the test too.
What?
Oh, yes. Because you weren't listening.
What you
The
said?
No,
enzyme.
you didn't say that.
Wait, what's the name of the enzyme?
What did you just say?
ASE means enzyme.
No, that's not on the test. He said only lipids on the test.
So think about it. You have lactase. You can't digest it because you're a baby. You're not a baby anymore. You don't have lactase. You're drinking milk. You're eating cheese that has a lot of lactose in it. It's sitting in your intestine. What do you get? Could someone close the door?
It's just gonna take longer.
What's going to happen? You can't digest it. You can't. You don't have enough energy to digest it. I'm telling you, you cannot break this down without this enzyme. That's it. It will not break. You cannot break it down. You ate it. It's in your intestine. Went from your stomach into your intestine. It's sitting there. Are you just going to poop out milk or cheese?
No.
So what's going to happen to the lactose? It can't. You can't digest it. Yeah. That's a good point. That could happen. It could clog you up. But there's something else that goes on. What else is in your intestines? Huh? Not in your intestines. Yeah. Lactase is not there. We're saying you're adults. We're saying you don't have lactase. Maybe you're lactose intolerant. You just you don't produce this enzyme. This enzyme, it should be at least expressed less as an adult than as a baby. What happens to lactose in your intestines? We know we don't poop it out because I drink 2 glasses of milk. I don't poop white. I know I don't poop it out. What happens to it? Yeah. No, you can't digest it. You can't break it down. There's nothing you can do. It's sitting there.
I'm lost. I don't know what to do.
I wouldn't be asking you if the answer wasn't in front of your face. So what? I would not be. I'm not trying to ask you a trick question. I'm asking you to think. What else is in your intestines?
Water.
Okay, but that doesn't help. There's bacteria in your intestine. E. coli. You have a symbiotic relationship with them. Without these bacteria, you couldn't digest a lot of different things. Well, these bacteria break down the lactose. But you're not eating the lactose. They're eating lactose. You're feeding the bacteria. They produce gas.
Well, that's why y'all be pooting.
That's why you get a lot of pressure. You have to go to the bathroom real quick. You let out a lot of gas, and the poop comes out with a lot of pressure. That's because that bacteria is eating that lactose, and that's why it hurts people that eat lactose, that eat or drink lactose, and they don't have this enzyme. It literally is very painful because their intestines get filled with gas, and that gas moves and pushes and pulls their intestines around like this. And as it moves through the intestine, it hurts. So there's painful gas. And then finally, of course, there's the exiting of the gas, which is not pleasant for anyone. So lactose, people that are lactose intolerant, they're not tolerant for lactose because they don't have this enzyme. Babies have it. All baby mammals have it because they need it to eat. That's what babies eat. That's what they're supposed to
So if they
eat.
don't got it, they gonna die.
In the wild, yes. Absolutely. Humans, we help them out. We cheat.
I thought we cheat.
Well, we're not going to let a baby die. Not if we can help it, right? All right, so we all understand that? Does that seem reasonable, how this works? So enzymes, the enzyme for lactose is what? What do you think?
Lactase, did you say that?
That's right. It's found where? Babies. Baby what? Mammals. Products of hydrolysis, glucose, and galactose. How do I know? It says it up here. As also I told you. Maltose. What do you think the enzyme is? Come on.
Maltose, where?
That's it. Maltase. Not hard. Not hard. You can do the rest. The answers are here. Do it. Do the work. Sucrose. What do you think that this is the enzyme we all eat. Everybody can eat this because this is what helps us digest table sugar. What enzyme is that? Go ahead. Sucrase. And again, reference the top chart to figure out what's what. Use your understanding of disaccharide chemistry for this, right, two sugars being bonded together, to suggest how the digestive disorder lactose intolerance arises. I literally just answered that for you. Yes? So you need to go back and look at that and answer it. Do you have to memorize each of these disaccharides and know? Would it be beneficial to make index cards that say lactose and the lactase breaks it down and these are the sugars? Not for this exam, no. If you're taking a physiology class with Miss Bannicourt, I don't know, you guys are talking a lot about food chemistry, there might be an issue there. But in this class, what is the point here? There are many different disaccharides. Each disaccharide has its own enzyme that helps break it down. Each enzyme has its own gene. Enzymes work like this. They lower the activation energy and they're biological catalysts. They make the reaction go faster by decreasing the necessary activation energy. That's it. And these were just examples that help explain what's going on here. Are we all clear on this? So you should be able to answer this page, what's missing here, pretty easily. Monosaccharides, what's two major functions of monosaccharides? Monosaccharides, what could you do with them? Now let's see here. Where can I find those answers? They play a central role in cells, providing energy and contributing to support. All right? course, here's what disaccharides are. They're important what? Human nutrition, and actually animal nutrition, because animals use it, not just humans. The answers are here, right on the page. We've gone over it. I keep begging you to read it, to highlight this stuff, to read it before class. I keep begging you to please go through this before you come to class so that you can get the maximum out of our time we have together. All right, let's go on to the next page then. We are going to do this after the exam. We're going to do this lab, but we're going to do it after the exam, okay? This is a calibration curve, and it talks about glucose standards. We might actually do this on Monday, but we're not going to deal with colorimetry today or for this exam. Just to be clear, I'm going to write it down so nobody says anything. So I'm going to post this tonight. TBA. We will do it, but not now. So, polysaccharides. This is it. This is the last portion. It's going to be on your test. Maybe I think there might be a couple more pages we have to kind of look at. But you have to know now we said don't worry about the disaccharide names, right? But these you have to know. These four things you have to know. What are they? They're right in front of you. So there's cellulose. So the first one is cellulose. Cellulose is used to make wood, right? Plants use it to build their structure, their structural components. Plants make sugar. Let's be clear on that. Plants make sugar. Plants make sugar for them. They make sugar for them. Some of the sugar they eat, they use it for energy. But other sugars, they make cellulose. They make it to cellulose. Cellulose is structural. They don't break down their own cellulose. They don't do that. Very few things can break cellulose down. Do you have to know that they are 1,4 glycosidic bonds? In other words, the first carbon's bonded to this fourth carbon, 1,4 glycosidic bonds. No, you do not have to know that. I'm not going to ask you to memorize what bonds are which. What I need you to know is that cellulose is a form of polysaccharide, more than one sugar bonded together over and over again, that's used for structure. You need to know that. Sugar, this stuff that you're sitting on, these wooden stools, they are made, each strand of fiber that makes them up is made of 10,000 glucose molecules. They're called microfibrils. And these microfibrils layer and they form wood. And of course, wood can be chopped up and made into paper. All right. Plants can make something else. Now, this is a plant. Do you see that this is all in plants? These two are in what? Jeez. Those two are in plants. Starch is where plants take that sugar and they store it for energy. This is they put that away. Plants will take that sugar that they make. They make the sugar. They don't eat it. They make it. Plants don't eat their food. They make their own food. At least most of them do. Plants make their starch and they put it away for them. What are some examples of this? Potatoes, yams, beets. Those are all forms of starch that these plants put them away in the cells. You see the starch granules? Those are literally balls, thousands and thousands of sugar molecules all bonded together, see, in a different way, in a 1,6 glycosidic bond. See the 1,4 makes these straight lines? Do you see how shape and function, structure and function are related? This we can break down easy. We eat a potato, we eat a French fry. we break this down. We get all the sugar out of it because we have the enzyme that can break this apart. We don't have the enzyme that can break this apart. So this will last hundreds of years. This will last minutes in our belly, right? So starch is easily broken down, not just by us, but plants can break it down easy too. That's why plants make it. They don't make it for us, but we take it. All right, so cellulose and starch are the two plant forms of polysaccharides. Animals can form something called form something called glycogen. Humans store sugar as well. We store it in our liver. Other creatures, other animals store it in different ways. But animals store glycogen. So plants store starch. I'm telling you right now, this is one of those moments where I'm going to tell you, I repeatedly do this, but people don't take me seriously. I don't know why. This is coming on the test. I promise you there will be a question that will test whether you understand cellulose, starch, and glycogen, what their function is, and where are they found. Starch and cellulose are found in plants. Animals have glycogen, and plants use cellulose for structure and starch to store energy. Animals can eat starch, but they can't eat cellulose. What about termites, Mr. Mendoza? Those are bacteria that have those enzymes that can break it up in the termite's guts. Right? Finally, the last one that you have to know is chitin. Chitin's another polymer of sugar, of carbohydrates, and that's used in insects. They're the outer layer of insects, the exoskeleton. The shell is correct. All right. And arthropods. It's not just insects, it's arthropods in general. What are arthropods?
Spiders.
That's right. Spiders are part of arthropods. Insects are arthropods. Spiders, which are arachnids, are also arthropods. So anything with a hard shell, it's probably made of chitin. It's important. That's a structural sugar. So when you crush a cockroach, you're crushing sugar. Look, it's the same kind of sugar. It's a hexose. Do you see it? And this one is what? Glucose. These are glucose molecules, beta glucose. This is alpha glucose. This is alpha glucose, and this is alpha glucose. So all these are glucose. All these are the stuff you eat. It's just how we put them together means that you don't, either you have the enzyme to break it up or you don't. You can eat the chitin insect, but you're not digesting the outer shell. You'll just digest its innards. Yeah.
Why is it that some people lack these?
Mutations. So we all have mutations. We all come from different, we'll talk about that when we get into genetics. But enzymes, how do we make proteins? What determines the primary structure of a protein? Genes. So if you have a gene that you can drink milk, you have no problem drinking milk, it's because you inherited the gene that makes the primary structure that makes the enzyme lactase that works. I can't drink milk because I don't have the gene, that same gene you have. I have the gene, but it's a different form, and my form doesn't work as well. Or maybe it's not turned on as much. So there's all kinds of things we have to talk about when it comes to DNA. But we're not there yet. Are we all good with this? So we could talk about why, I think you can answer this. Why are polysaccharides a good source of energy? Can somebody tell me that? Let me ask you this question, add on to this. Which one of these polysaccharides could you use for energy? Could you use for energy? I want you to answer. You to answer me. I don't want to say your name, but I will in a minute. You tell me, which one of these would you use? There's two of these. Which two of these would you use for energy? Quickly. Cellulose and starch is wrong. Why not cellulose? I literally said you cannot digest cellulose. Cellulose is structural. Starch is correct. We can't eat starch. French fries are, I know, I saw you zoning out. That's why I asked you. I knew you weren't paying attention. That's why I asked you. So now, what's the other one? Starch is one. What's the other polysaccharide you could use for energy? Tap him on the shoulder.
Cam.
Go ahead. Huh? Glycogen, correct. Glycogen's the other one we could use. Yes.
He be listening.
Are we all good? By the way, I'll tell you this. If you get an A on this final next week, you can no matter how the numbers work out, I will increase. You will definitely pass the class, and you will increase one letter grade no matter what. If you get an A on the final, is that a good encouragement for you? All right.
That's great.
So now we look at cellulose and starch. We can look at some details of what cellulose is used for. This is kind of how starch is put together. Look at it. How many sides? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What is this? What is this? This 6 carbon ring structure. What is it? Sugar. So this is sugar all connected together in a chain, in a bunch of chains. And they form these fibrils, these microfibrils. You see them? And this is what makes the wood you're sitting on. They layer. They get stuck together and they get layered. Microfibrils are 40 to 70 cellulose chains long. 40 cellulose chains. Each chain has many sugars. So there's billions of sugar molecules to make a tree. Trillions of sugar molecules to make a tree. And each year, the tree layers another layer of these polymers, these polysaccharides, each year making it bigger and bigger. Of course, the more round it is, the taller it can be. You all remember doing this, for those of you that came to Step Up, you all realize that the bigger your base, the taller your object. So I love that activity. I always did. So here you can look at what's called tensile strength. Am I going to quiz you or test you next week on what tensile strength is? No. But tensile strength is just strength. The strength of the molecule to hold something up or to be pulled apart. I mean, come on. It's not that hard. Tensile strength. The ability to resist strain, pulling strain, right? The pulling of, which one has more tensile strength? A rope or a steel cable? Steel cable. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Look at the difference. Look at the difference between nylon. We use this to make our shoes, right? Some of our clothes have nylon. It's 0.75. A steel wire has a tensile strength of what? 2.2. Steel. Rubber, obviously, rubber's flimsy. Hair, obviously, not as strong as steel or even nylon. Silk, we know, is very strong, and it's a 1. But now look at cellulose. Do you see why we use wood to build things?
That's for real.
That's why your stools are made of wood. It's light and strong. You can pull all day and that stuff's not going to fall apart. That's why trees last hundreds of years. The great redwoods of the Northwest, thousands of years old. And they're big and they're alive. They're still living. All right. Yeah.
Is it like the different type of parts? Are they made up of different fibers?
Good question. Excellent question. They're made of the same stuff, but they're put together slightly differently. Denser, right? So there's more of them per square inch. So the denser it is, obviously, the stronger it's going to be. And so they call them hardwoods versus softwoods. So pine trees are what we call softwoods because they're not as dense. They get bigger quicker. That's true. That's an advantage. But they're also not as dense. So it's a wood like oak, right? It's much more dense and stronger. We love to use oak for building things because it's tough. Another good one is a really a redwood tree, redwoods obviously, but of course it takes longer to grow those, right? So that's wood. Obviously we don't have to use trees. We can use grasses to make paper. We do that. We call it bamboo, right? We can use bamboo to make floor, to build with. So why use bamboo? Because it doesn't take as long to grow. But it's still cellulose. All plants grow with using cellulose. So again, taking a look at a close-up of what's going on. That's the sugar molecules, all hydrogen bonding together. These are covalently bonded together in a chain, but they pull on each other. Do you see that? So that gives you a specific shape. So that's why amylopectin and starch, it makes this, they can be formed in these little globules inside the cell. This is a plant cell. Do you see that? Do you see that this is a plant cell? There's your endoplasmic reticulum, your Golgi body. Here's your chloroplast, and this is the little storage vesicle for starch. And we'll go over those organelles. You don't have to know that for this test. So do you have to answer all these? I would know the purpose. I would know these for sure. You would be able to answer these. The purpose of cellulose and starch in plant cells, right? You should know that. Describe the structure of cellulose molecule compared to starch. I'm not so worried about that. I'm not going to ask you I'm not going to show you a starch molecule and a cellulose molecule and tell you that which one's which. I'm not going to do that. But if you want to know the difference, it might be interesting to you. Let's put that as a maybe, as blue. All right? Explain why, if you have extra time, you're ahead of the game, you got all your studying done, you're like, hey, I wonder what the difference is. Go ahead and look it up. It's right here. It's all explained in detail. Explain why wood has such a high strength to weight ratio. Let's say no. Let's say we have to cut I wanted to go through this, but we're running out of time, so let's just say no. Notice I'm using 3 colors, right? Green, definitely something worthwhile looking at. Blue if you have time. Red if you want to, but it's not really no need. It's not going to be on the test. Explain why cellulose has a rich tensile strength. Let's again say no. Using the graph in previous, you should be able to do this, right? So you should be able to do this. So do it. But it's not, I don't want you to memorize which one has more tensile strength, which one doesn't. What is it? What skill am I looking for here? What skill am I looking for here? What practice am I trying to give you? Reading a graph. Reading a graph. Read the graph. If you answer these questions correctly, you'll be good. So definitely answer these questions, and the others, you don't have to worry about them. But if you want to, if you absolutely want to, you can.
What about the cells?
The what?
Each page.
Yeah, cell size and shape. Are people packing up because it's time to go?
No.
You are?
We have 1 minute
We got a minute left.
All right, so wait, cell size. Let's worry about cell size on the next unit and make sure we all agree. Please listen to me. To be announced, right? For next, stress you out any more than you have to. But that I want to go back to unit. To be announced for next unit. In fact, we're going to start the next. We will be covering that. I want to say next unit with these pages. To be announced. Are we clear? But now, look here before we go on. Before you leave. What is this? Now look at this. What is this? This is your vocabulary. You should have index cards for every one of these. Now there's some stuff in here. Let me look at this. Obviously, please pay attention. I know it's time to go. See this one? You're not going to worry about it, right? Because it has to do with size. Everything else, though, you're expected to know. All right, good luck. It's time. I'm leaving on time, so I'm not writing any passes.